Welcome everybody. This is going to be the first ever Brutal Planet Magazine podcast with me and Eric.
And Eric's here, Dustin's there. I'm recording from Salt Lake City, and Dustin, you're in...
I'm in Los Angeles, and we've had some technical issues, so hopefully this comes out okay, but we've spent the last 20 minutes, well, I've spent the last 20 minutes trying to figure out how to get everything wired up, so without further ado, we should probably just dive into it.
Yeah, so welcome everybody to the first one. We hope to have more of these.
I'd like to do it weekly, and just talk about the week in metal.
So first thing I wanted to talk about was, of course, the big news of Motley Crue being reunited.
Oh yeah. I wonder if they saw our meme with Home Sweet Home.
Yeah.
Ice cream cone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you see Nikki Sixx got upset with Steel Panther on Twitter because they were making fun of Vince Neil being fat? Did you see all that?
I did see that. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, so anyway.
So who knows? I mean, Motley Crue, we all kind of knew that when they said it was over, that it wasn't really over.
It's like Ozzy, right? Like, how many times has that guy retired?
Yeah,
he's coming out of it again.
I went and saw Ozzy in 1992 on the No More Tears tour, or the No More
No More Tours.
Yeah,
I remember that.
And here we are again with Ozzy still touring.
Well, so what's interesting about Ozzy's new stuff too? I just talked to this kid the other day who had just seen Post Malone, and he brought Ozzy out on stage.
Yeah,
and Ozzy's new album was totally produced by the guy who did that song with him and Post Malone. Apparently that inspired him to record a new album, doing that collaboration with Post Malone.
Well, good for him. Good for him.
Yeah, hey. I mean, it's a good song.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
It'll be interesting to see with the Motley Crue thing what they decide to do, because there's that talk of that tour with Def Leppard and Poison going out with them and doing like that all three bands tour. So it might be kind of interesting to see what happens with that.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be great. I would go see that. Def Leppard, Poison, and Motley Crue.
In Motley Crue, yeah. So I mean, really. Honestly, none of the bands have really put out anything significant in the last 5 years or so.
Right, it's the 80s nostalgia tour.
It is. But it would be a big draw for a lot of people. I would go see it too. I think it would be a great tour. So,
well, I mean, that article on our Facebook did really well. A lot of people commented and shared it. So.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was Watain. Swedish death metal band just started a tour with Morbid Angel, and they were coming into the United States to get ready for the tour, and their guitar player got denied access into the United States because they customs went onto his phone, or they went onto his phone and found some disturbing images. But as somebody who's into the death metal, I mean, you know that when you get into death metal, what's disturbing to one person is not disturbing to another. And they didn't say what was on the photos, but they said it was disturbing to them, so they denied him entry to the United States.
Yeah. I mean, Cannibal Corpse basically, like, I feel like their whole reason for existing is to just like write the most like gross, disgusting things they can think of. Like, one of my favorite Cannibal Corpse songs is called Sanded Faceless. You know what I mean? Like, who thinks of that? Like, they literally sit around and think like, fucked with a knife, blunt force castration. That's an actual Cannibal Corpse song. So it's like, of course the TSA is going to see that.
Yeah. And so they ended up canceling their Houston gig, and they started their tour in Dallas without their guitar player. And we actually covered that show because it was with Morbid Angel. So you can look for the review coming up this week. It should be published in the next couple days with Morbid Angel. And then they're going to be in Salt Lake on December 4th. And so I'm going to go shoot the show in Salt Lake. So
Yeah, we published an article about the incident
yeah,
on Brutal Planet.
we did.
Hell Forsberg.
Yep.
Here it is. Swedish black metal legends Watain have issued a statement about the absence of guitar. What's the statement say? Here's the band's full statement. We regret to inform you that U.S. authorities has decided. That's so Swedish.
Yeah.
It doesn't say have decided. We regret to inform you that U.S. authorities has decided to ban Watain's guitarist Pelle Forsberg from entering the country. Eric, Alvaro, Hampus, and Emil have a week of uncertainty just arrived in the United States. Unfortunately, not in time to go through with tonight's show in Houston. Here's what happened. Upon his entry to the United States, Pelle was unprovokedly taken into custody, locked up in a cell, and interrogated during the entire night, only to finally have his newly approved U.S. working visa, which he has been granted 5 times prior to this one, revoked and made void. He was thereafter deported back to Mexico, where he had been prior to the tour. This radical and fatal... Wow, Trump is even hurting metal.
Yeah.
How terrible is that?
Yeah.
You know, see, metalheads, the MAGA crap is spilling over into making your world bad too.
Well, the funny thing is this going to make these guys huge? I mean, is it going to spill over and turn into a huge deal? And these guys, the new death metal band that's going to take over the world is going to be these guys.
Their statement actually says stuff about Trump in it. That's amazing. Pelle had nothing illegal on his phone. He did not behave suspiciously or provokingly. All this comes down to one grumpy officer during the last hours of his shift, disapproving of Pelle's appearance, private life, or ways of expression. We would like to remind you that this is not a cautionary tale from 1980s Soviet Union. This is Trump-administered border policy in today's United States. This is what you get with an imbecile Christian racist ape ruling the nation and defending it at all cost from anything that can be considered alien and therefore unacceptable and potentially dangerous. Wow. That's amazing.
That's a great statement.
That is. They called him a racist ape. Christian racist ape. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Sweden. So I guess some of the stuff I'd like to talk about, I read that Soulfly is starting a tour. And it's funny because the other day I woke up in the morning singing this Max Cavalera from Soulfly, Sepultura, whatever. He had this side project called Nail Bomb. And Nail Bomb, it was like really brutal, like industrial stuff with the guy from Fudge Tunnel. Like it had these like industrial beats, but like heavy guitars. And the song is called Vai Toma no Ku. And it's like, he just like, fuck you and your blood. I don't even know why, but I woke up singing it that morning, and then I saw this news. So.
So that's good news. I mean, the Soulfly, it's nice to have them back out and touring again. So,
yeah, it's a lot of these bands that were. It's funny because one of my favorite bands they're called Mindless Self-Indulgence, and I saw them warm up for Soulfly when I first moved to LA, like in like 2000, and Mindless Self-Indulgence got booed off stage because they're nuts, you know, and the Soulfly crowd didn't like them. But I mean, it's awesome that Soulfly's back. Like that's how long. I mean, I remember seeing them. They used to come through Salt Lake regularly in the 90s. There was one show one time they came through, and it was just like the best. It was like Soulfly, Snot, Incubus, and Head PE. It was like this crazy lineup of like new metal and grunge.
I was gonna say that's a little bit all over the place, isn't it?
Yeah, well, at the time, Incubus was kind of being lumped in. Like, it was before Incubus, like, became big. So they actually didn't even show up. They ended up not showing up on the bill. Their managers or something, like, they got to a point where... So if you listen to Incubus's original stuff, they were like funk metal. They almost sounded like Infectious Grooves meets Faith No More. Like their first couple albums, if you've never heard them, you would probably like them. It's like they have an album called Science that is like it's a phenomenal album, just front to back. It's just like and it's heavy, but it's heavy melodic. And I actually we saw them play the Holy Cow when that album had just come out in Salt Lake, and they I like, there was literally like 50 people there. It was crazy. There was like no one there. And I asked Brandon, I got a chance to talk to him. I was like, you remind me a lot of Mike Patton. And he said, oh yeah, Mike Patton's like one of my biggest influences. So you can really hear it on the Science album. But anyway, the point is, Incubus used to be kind of like part of that whole metal, like 7-string Korn, Limp Bizkit group of bands. And I think they made like an executive decision to like completely distance themselves from that whole aesthetic. You know what I mean? They completely became like top 40, like unbuttoned shirt, fluff pop, And I like a lot of their stuff still, even after they kind of went that route. Like, they still make some good music, but those first couple albums, they had one called Enjoy Incubus that was really good, and then Science, of course, and then they had like when they were underground, Fungus Among Us album. It's like, it's good stuff. It's really funky, like almost like Primacy, Infectious Grooves type, like funk metal. Anyway,
nice.
That's my story.
Nice. So what other one did you have other than the Soulfly?
So I just came across this. It's funny because, the stuff that I don't post on the site, like when I look at my feed, like I learn stuff from our site about, like, it's awesome, like about bands that I like, which is fucking amazing. Like I'm like, oh, what's going on? Oh shit. So this one is Randy Blythe from Lamb of God is going to perform with Pigface.
Yeah.
Which is, like, that's fucking amazing. Pigface is like legendary as far as like, Genesis Peorian and obviously the guys from Skinny Puppy, and like, so many people have done, collaborations or been part of Pigface, like Maynard from Tool, and so it's really cool to see that Randy's doing that, because that just, obviously Lamb of God over the last like 10 or 15 years, they're probably one of the top thrash metal bands out there. I would definitely put them. It's funny because growing up it was Megadeth, Metallica, Anthrax, but the last decade or so it's been bands like Lamb of God, Norma Jean, Slipknot, that have kind of carried that ultra heavy torch. So the fact that Randy's doing stuff with Pigface, I think, kind of solidifies him as like a metal icon, really. Not that he wasn't already, but
So speaking of thrash metal, this week actually, there's a tour that's coming through Salt Lake, and it includes Power Trip from Dallas, Texas. Wow. And if you've never heard Power Trip, that's a band. They've got that classic thrash sound, and there's a song called Executioner's Tax, and it's such an amazing song. And I've watched some videos of them live, and after watching them live, I was like, I gotta go see this show because it looks pretty badass. People just jumping up on stage and then jumping back into the crowd, and that's all they do. It looks like like total classic thrash show,
hardcore thrash.
Yeah,
I love that kind of stuff. I love that energy. Like, it's hard to recapture that energy. Very few bands can do that.
So these guys can. So everybody look for that. We'll have that probably next week. We'll have some pictures and a review of that show.
I was going to ask you, I just finished editing your interview with Ilene. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? They seem really cool.
Yes. Yeah. So I reviewed the album for Ilene. It's the
Ilene, sorry.
Yeah, the All Shall Burn it's an EP, and it's kind of funny because when I was talking to him, I said my only complaint with that album was I wanted more. It's such a good heavy symphonic metal album. And
is it an EP?
Yeah, it's an EP. So it's got
okay.
It's got a Rammstein cover on it, and then it's got a couple of new songs, and then it's got a more symphonic version of a couple of their songs too. But it's a great EP. But like I was saying, I told him, I said, I want more. You guys are teasing me, and I kept thinking, okay, what's the next song? And then I was like, that was the end. And I was like, no. And so I wanted more. And that's the way I feel like a good album should leave you, is you want more. But
Totally.
But these guys, you know, they're from Sweden. They have Madeline's the singer, and she has a really good voice, and she knows how to use it, but she doesn't overuse it. And
yeah, she, you know what? This is the thing too. And I don't want to name any names, but I feel like a lot, there's like everywhere, it's kind of in vogue to have a female singer right now. Like there's so many bands that have a hot chick singer. And that chick from Ilene, she has a great voice, and it's like you can tell what, like, the control she has. You know what I mean? Like by the way she sings, she has compared to some of the other women in metal, I feel like she has so much more like confidence and prowess. I guess it's like you can just. It works really well. Like when I listen to their stuff, I'm like, wow, that girl can sing. Like, and it comes through powerfully. Whereas some of the other bands that have like the chick singer, it's kind of like, okay, she seems a little bit like a prop, you know?
Yeah, and it's not even about her voice. It's about how high she can go, or how, you know what I mean? It's not
more about how she looks in tight metal outfits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like and the chick from Ilene is super hot too.
Yeah,
like, obviously she's super hot, but she has a great voice. Yeah, and you can tell and that's what I'm saying. It's like there's a natural there's a nature to it, I guess, or a natural sound to it that you can just tell that she's like, I don't know. It's when you listen to it, you can tell.
And then the other cool part is Rickard, who is he's the guitar player. He does the growls and the male voice in the album too, right. And he does an amazing job too. And he's a great guitar player. But they're both in the interview. It's really interesting to talk to him about. Talking to him about, the metal industry and how hard it is to actually break into it, and it's not easy. So,
yeah. No, you know what I think is interesting is, so the guitars that I have and the guitars that I've kind of acquired over the last several years are Schecter. And it was really just because I liked the double pickup sound and I couldn't afford a Gibson. So, and it's interesting though, because when I asked Tommy Victor from Prong what gear he used, that was like the only like brand that he name dropped. He's like, I use Schecter guitars. So I was listening to that interview with Ilene, and I heard him talk about Schecter.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I just kind of naturally ended up playing those guitars, and I really do love the way they sound. I have two of them, so it was really cool to hear.
So yeah, look for that album or that album, but that interview should be coming out this week, so that'll be good for everybody to hear that.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to talk about too is I've got in a week or so I've got Wednesday 13 coming up. If you guys don't know, you probably don't know, but he's like one of my favorites. I'm a big shock rock guy, and I'm a huge Alice Cooper fan. So to me, Wednesday 13 is the new torch for the shock rock genre, and super excited.
They're like the continuation of Manson and Alice Cooper, right?
Yeah. And I like Wednesday because Wednesday doesn't take himself so seriously, and that's kind of the way that Alice is. And so the cool thing about Wednesday too is he's gone the same route as Alice. He used to drink a lot, and then he went sober, and I don't remember how many days sober he is now. He's like over a year sober, and I feel like he's gotten more evil the more sober he is, it's, and that's the way Alice was too. Alice said, when I was drunk, it was one thing, but once I was sober, Alice got a lot darker. So
that's dope. We'll have to play that. We should play a clip of that, the mean tweets with Alice Cooper.
Yeah, we should.
You can just play the audio. In fact, let's play it right now.
Watching Alice Cooper, and all I can think of is that he looks like a ball sack with face paint on. Yeah, that's fair.
So I have one more thing I'd like to talk about. So tomorrow I'm doing an interview with Marcus Jadell from the band Avatarium, and I honestly hadn't really heard a whole lot about him. I've heard of him, but I never really listened to him. And then I picked up this interview, and so I started listening to their new album, and their new album is amazing, and I love the band's sound. They're from Sweden too, but they're speaking of female leads, they have a female lead with them, and if you don't know anything about them, they're started as they're just a band from Stockholm, and they've got some connections with Candlemass. So the Marcus Jadell, he actually produced the song that Candlemass is nominated for a Grammy for.
Oh wow!
So their sound, these guys' sound is that they describe them as a melodic doom, but with a female voice. And after listening to them, it sounded more to me. It sounds like So this is how I compared it: is if Melissa Etheridge would have joined Black Sabbath instead of Ozzy. That's what it sounds like to me.
I wonder what you see when you close your eyes. Wonder what you see when you can't sleep. Is it the darkest deep of an endless sea? Tell me, are you already waist deep?
Oh wow! You know I was gonna say, it's interesting how deep Sweden is in the music world, because like this guy that I look up to a lot, his name's Max Martin. Have I ever told you anything about him? Or yeah, he's the guy who produced all the like Britney Spears, and like he's like he produced that song by The Weeknd, I Can't Feel My Face. Like he's had like a #1 hit on the Billboard charts for the last like 20 years basically.
Yeah.
Every year. So
yeah. So listen for that review, or that interview should be coming up too. So
awesome.
Yeah, I'd never heard of them.
Yeah, so they're a great sounding band, and they've kind of got a retro, kind of almost that stoner metal sound, but it's a lot deeper, and it kind of almost sounds like, to me, that bluesy sound, but it's got a little bit of, I would call it almost a hard country, like a hard Johnny Cash sound to it.
That's cool.
And it's to me, it's what if this is what country would have been like, I probably would have got into country.
Yeah, that's probably my least favorite genre.
Yeah,
admittedly.
So
I think part of it's that I resent it because I grew up in Utah, and but honestly, modern country, I saw this quote about modern country that was so great. This guy's like, because if you've heard country now, it's basically like cowboy rap.
It is.
You know what I mean? And this guy goes, modern country is basically hip hop for people who are scared of black people.
Yeah.
I thought that was so funny.
That's true.
All right, man. Well, this is a good first episode of the Brutal Planet podcast. I think what we may want to do is let's put out, if you guys have suggestions or you want to write in or have questions or anything, just send a note to Brutal Planet Mag it's Brutal Planet Magazine at gmail.com. That's kind of our blanket email account that we can all log into and check. Send us your comments, questions, anything you might want us to cover, and that would be great. Yeah, we would love that. So it's Brutal Planet Magazine at gmail.com. And I guess that's a wrap for this one.
Yep, sounds good.
Till next time, keep it brutal.